Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. What you see in the vise is a detached body half hog. So we're not going to go the full hog today, just a half hog. Sorry, that's a terrible joke. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H130 barbless hook. This one's at size 10, it's on a fine wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Simplify. It's nano silk at 50D or 12/0, and as you can see, it's black. As always with the nano silks, a little touch of super glue just on the shank of the hook. Now, I'm not going to come all the way back with my tying silk, so I want my little blob of super glue just to be at the front here. I don't want it going all the way back. So about halfway up the shank I want it spread. It's about right. Like so. Just get a bed down, doesn't need to be particularly neat. And we're going to come halfway up the shank. I'm stopping well before the point of the hook, as you can see. And the first thing I want to do is tie in a tiny little bit of seal's fur. I'm using some black claret from Cooksville. Sorry, I should have got some out of the packet. And I'm just going to take a tiny amount of that to start with. Dub it hard onto your silk, and then just the tiniest amount there at the back. Next thing we're going to do is attach our detached body. Now, I've already created mine, and what I'm going to do is in a little window just in the top left hand corner, I'm going to put a video on how I make these detached bodies. Now, as you can see, one side is pretty rough and the other side is right. Now, I want the right side to be down, so that's what the fish sees. I'm not interested if the fly looks ugly to the human eye. I'm all about what's the fish going to see. So I decide where I want the detached body to come, and I want it to come about 2 segments past the bend of the hook. So I'm catching it there, just in at that segment. It happens to be the best bit. And once I've caught that in, just make sure it's on top of the shank. Then you can come in with a pair of old scissors. Don't be using your good scissors on foam, it blunts them really quickly. And just take away the excess. Then what I can do is tidy this up with my silk and make sure that's just tied in there. Perfect. Now, as you can see, the rough sides on the top where it's only human eye that's going to see it, and actually once the dressing's on you don't even really see that. So next it's a little more seal's fur. If I can get some separated from other stuff I've had on my bench, just a tiny amount, and we can dub that on next, like so. Now, what I want to do next is invert my vise, and I'm just going to, before I go on, rough out that seal's fur slightly, either side. And next I'm going to add in my legs. Now, I'm being lazy, I've got some pre-tied knotted legs here, and I want to take roughly half a dozen off the stem. Split them approximately down the middle, and you want them to come no further than your detached body. So let's just dress that up, excuse my fingers, and I'll just catch that in. Seems okay. And next I can come in with my scissors and just remove the excess of the legs. So far so good. Now I'm going to add a hot spot to this hog, but before I do that I just want to add a tiny little amount of wing to the back before I add in the hotspot. And I'm not going to use a stacker. I'm simply going to take maybe a dozen fibres from the side of the pelt. Just roughly line up with your hands. Doesn't have to be exact. And I want that to come no further than the detached body. So I'll just get a couple of turns in there just to hold that into place. And I can remove that. Next then, I'm going to add the hotspot. And what I'm using for my hotspot would normally be red, but I'm out of red, so I'm going to use some hot orange seal's fur here. You don't need a terrible amount, only a tiny little smidgen. And again, that, because it's seal's fur, it does need hard dubbing onto the thread. We're going to pick it out again in a bit, but at the minute, a good hard dub. Okay, so that's going to be your hot spot. Now let me show you that from underneath. You can see I've got that. You don't see as much of the orange from underneath. So next I want to add a copious amount of wax to my thread. When you're dealing with deer hair, or elk hair for that matter, it's always good to get plenty of wax onto your thread. Now, I've already put some of the deer hair into my stacker, and I've got that ready to go. And as I take it out, you can see all the points I've lined up, and I'll just pull that. I've just got it looks like a Labrador hare. My dog's obviously been in my tying room. Let's get rid of that. Don't want any white in it. Now, dress it up to the hook, and you want it to be about the length of the shank, roughly. It doesn't have to be exact. The scruffier this pattern is, the better I find it fishes. So just over my waist bin, I'm removing the waist piece, and I'm going to come in now and line that up with where I want to tie it in. Make sure that your end is well back from your eye. Once you're happy it's in place, come through your cut ends with a few turns, and then once you've got it where you want it, you can just tidy up these cut ends. Now I'm putting quite a lot of force on here, which you can do with nano silk. That's one of the great things about it. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now what I like to do with these, there's a number of ways you could have finished. I could have just cut it in and let the cut ends be the end of the fly, but what I like to do with mine is just to give it a little bit more of a finish. I add some black squirrel dub, which I'll just show you the packet there. I only want the tiniest amount, and what I'm going to do in my fingers, I'm just going to spread that out like so. Then I put that to the side. I get my bodkin needle, I come in behind the back of the nano silk, and what I want to do is just split the thread like so. And once I've got that split, I can simply insert it into the gap, give it a spin up like so, and once I've trapped it all in, I don't want all this, there's too much, so in with the fingers, give it a good pruning, so what you've got left is like a little hairy rope, which is ideal. Come back to the end of my fly and cover that bump. Now at this bit I don't want to finish it with a lump of super glue, so I'm going to come in with some UV varnish. And then whip finish it. At the front of the eye. Just get a nice little head going there. And there's always the danger of cloaking the eye, and you don't want that. So keep well back for the eye. It makes it a bit of a bugger to tie on when you've not given yourself enough room at the front. And that's the same for any fly. Now, how I would fish this is as a point fly on a cast of 3 or even 4 flies, maybe supporting some bob's bits or little hoppers. But because it's got that big detached body at the back, this will float high in the water for you, and it will take its fair share of fish. Just tease out some more of the orange. And there we go. The half hog detached body. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.